I think that the biggest thing is that the future is coming, and it's already here in pieces, right? The world is going to move in this direction, and I think it's going to be for the better. And GlobaliD is a company that's kind of committed to trying to do it the right way, in a way that protects people and lets them stay in control of their data and aren't getting monetized at every interaction, and where businesses no longer have to worry about this stuff like they do today. And so um, it's coming. The technology is here, and it's only getting more sophisticated and mature. And I'm excited. I'm excited that a company like GlobaliD exists in the first place, and then that I'm here trying to make it happen.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of the GlobaliD podcast. My name is Calvin Burrows, and I'll be your host during today's episode. I'm a marketing communications manager here at GlobaliD. I joined the team in May. I'm really excited to start co-hosting this podcast with Alec moving forward, so be on the lookout for some future episodes. And today I'm joined by Treys, who's our product marketing director at GlobaliD. And we're going to be talking about GlobaliD's brand new website that we recently launched. So, Trey, why don't you kick things off by sharing a little bit about yourself, your background, and then give us some details regarding your role here at GlobaliD.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So, my background, I've been working in tech for 10 years or so, and kind of have split my time across product management, marketing, and design. And so I kind of did my hours across these different fields at different software companies throughout the years, and kind of now have this mix of those skills that lets me think about all of them as one continuous thing. And I was hired at GlobaliD to be the head of product marketing and figure out ways to communicate better about our product and help us go to market. And so obviously the website's a big part of that. So excited to be here talking about it.
Excellent. Well, we're happy to have you on the podcast today, Trey. Obviously, every great startup or company needs a really good website. Why in particular was it so necessary that GlobaliD's site get refreshed at this time? If you could speak to some of the objectives you were trying to accomplish, that sort of thing.
Sure, absolutely. There's the just practical objectives of always having a clean website that, does the job that it needs to do. But broader picture for GlobaliD, I think we needed to be telling our story and telling the story of what's happening in digital identity today and how it's changing, how there's a new paradigm brewing, and all the ways in which it's better than how we used to operate, right? And all the holes that exist for everyone involved in identity today. So the website is really a vehicle for telling that story and helping people be a part of the future.
Makes sense. I know you and the team did a lot of work around the voice that you wanted the site to have. Could you give us some insight into that process and why that was so important to GlobaliD in the context of how we see our role in the space of digital identity?
Absolutely, yeah. Good question. So every brand needs to have a voice, right, that communicates clearly, and that's just kind of table stakes. And in the identity world in particular, especially when you're on the cutting edge, you need to be extra careful about how you're communicating, because you're trying to communicate big, complicated concepts or brand new technology that's going to change the way things operate. And if you're not meeting people where they are, if you're not able to cut through the noise and communicate effectively, then you're not going to be able to make the splash that you want to make, right? And so really nailing our voice across the website, our product, our blog, all the thought leadership that we're trying to do to rise the tide for this new identity world all comes back to the voice. And so it's really a fundamental building block, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I think you and the team, did a great job of solidifying that voice on the new website. One of the challenges for GlobaliD is that we have so many potential stakeholders and customers, from individuals, businesses, and developers to Web3 stakeholders, crypto enthusiasts, identity advocates. Can you tell us how you and the team approach designing the site so that we speak effectively to all these people, all these stakeholders?
Right, right. Yeah, it was definitely a challenge. So when you have a multi-sided marketplace or a multi-stakeholder product or challenge, you have to be sure that you're understanding each of these respective parties individually, what they care about, what language they speak, what they know, what they don't know, which makes for a really interesting interesting problem to solve, right? And so, what we needed to make sure that we could accomplish is that we were not scaring anyone away by being overly technical or overly academic. We weren't only speaking to the identity nerds that think about this all day like we do. We were meeting people where they were, and we were speaking the language they understand, and actually translating what it is that we do into the things they care about. Because it's really easy to get lost in the sauce and just be talking about the future and just about the tech and just about this verifiable credential or this zero knowledge proof. It's always important that we're tying back on our website and our content directly to the problems that exist and how they can help people today. And so on the website, you'll see that we try to do that in a pretty cohesive way, where we can directly address a particular audience with the things they care about in the language they speak. And yeah, it's going to be an ongoing process, I think, as more and more people get involved.
Definitely gonna just always be iterating on that.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Why Global ID page was one of the most important pages and parts of the new site, not only because it helps tell people who we are and what we're doing, but it allowed us to really hone in on what our guiding principles are as a company and the space we want to inhabit in the world of digital identity. So, could you talk about some of those guiding principles and how we brought them to life on that page?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, you'll see on the page that we spend a good amount of time talking about the problem, right? So why should you even care about this thing in the first place? And a lot of those problems are around individual privacy, right? We live in a world that's very messy. People's information is compromised or used against them for sales all the time, which, that's the most acute thing that everybody lives with in their daily lives. But for businesses, the problems are fraud, uh, attacks, right? Bots, spam, scam, people kind of ruining the integrity of their business, right? That's core identity problems that every digital business has to deal with. And then for institutions like banks or governments or public private organizations, they deal with carrying the weight of being the authority, right? So they're issuing paper IDs, or they have to send unemployment checks, or they have to safely bring people into the financial ecosystem. All of these riddled with identity problems, right? And so the way that we see the world, right, our mission is to provide a more private, secure, personal identity that people can reuse and transparently understand where their identity data is going. And for businesses, it's to give them the technology that enables that, right? That their users can retain their privacy, but also gives businesses or institutions or governments a safer and more assured way to know that Calvin is who he says he is, and he's at this address, and that he should have this bank account, or he should drive this car, or whatever it might be. Right now, those systems are really antiquated and lead to tons of problems, right? And so our ethos is that people should be private, secure, safe, and control their data, and that shouldn't compromise businesses or institutions getting the jobs done that they need to get done. And so that's what that why page is all about. And we tried to communicate as best as we could to all of the relevant stakeholders about this big, messy problem and where we see ourselves in the mix.
Makes sense, yeah. I mean, again, kind of like the whole site, it's a delicate balancing act, and I to speak to everybody, and I think that page does it well. So going forward, I know you're excited for more of the content that will end up on the website, but also just some of the things that we're going to be rolling out as a company in Q3 and Q4. Could you tell us what you're most looking forward to out of the things we have coming up on the horizon?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, for the website and who we are, we're going to continue to kind of beat that drum that I just talked about, right? Helping people understand what verifiable credentials are, what an identity wallet is, why this new paradigm is coming inevitably, whether it's us or somebody else, it's coming, and why now's the time to make sure it's a system that works for us. We've got a lot of really great content coming up that I think is going to highlight that. And then from a product perspective, we're just going to be pushing faster than we ever have before towards delivering on that promise, right? Having features for consumers that make using your digital identity easier than actually carrying around your plastic card, right? They're just things that you can do on your phone that you would never be able to do. I'd never want to type a 12-digit ID number ever again, right? Like that's going to be a delight, right? And that's going to help us step in the right direction towards making these safer, verifiable credentials more popular. And we're going to be rolling out all kinds of really exciting tools for businesses and banks, really exciting pilots with credit unions and marketplaces that we think are going to make a real difference for these organizations, and then consequently the people at the other end of them, right? And so it's just a kind of all hands on deck approach from both a content and storytelling and education perspective, and then actually bringing product into the world. It's going to be a really exciting quarter.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I mean, everything you just mentioned, as well as some other things, I'm very excited to start letting everyone know, letting the world know. Um, and I know you're just really proud to have completed the site and have it be live and out in the world. It is a really big deal for us as a company because it's going to allow us to take those next steps that we're talking about and creating this future that we're trying to bring to life. So, with that in mind, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with us before we wrap up?
Yeah, I guess I think that the biggest thing is that the future is coming, and it's already here in pieces, right? The world is going to move in this direction, and I think it's going to be for the better. And GlobaliD is a company that's kind of committed to trying to do it the right way, in a way that protects people and lets them stay in control of their data and aren't getting monetized at every interaction, and where businesses no longer have to worry about this stuff like they do today. And so it's coming. The technology is here, and it's only getting more sophisticated and mature. And I'm excited. I'm excited that a company like GlobaliD exists in the first place, and then that I'm here trying to make it happen.
Nice, excellent. I'm glad you're here as well. I think the rest of the team is too. So, Trey, thanks so much for joining us today, and thanks for all of your hard work bringing our new website to life. I mean, as I said, I believe it's really going to help us tell our story in a way we just weren't before. So, thanks, and thanks to everybody for watching. We hope you'll join us next time, and we'll see you soon.
Beautiful. Thank you, Calvin.